Hello and welcome to the Purple Menace.com podcast. I am Geoff Craig, here with my boss and co-host, Billy Wessels. We are going to be doing a weekly podcast here on purplemenace.com. You can check it out. You can also listen to it on YouTube, which makes things convenient.
And free.
And then if you really like what we're talking about, you can go over to purplemenace.com, get you a membership, and read all the stuff that we're going to get. We get way in depth.
Super deep. Member of the Rivals Network, by the way. I don't know if you dropped that in there or not. I was sort of paying attention. But a member of the Rivals Network, the most trusted brand in college football analysis and recruiting coverage and all that for, I don't know, 100 decades? I'm not really good at numbers, but
I think 100 decades
I think
right.
It's pretty fair to say.
So if you really love TCU, which you should bleed purple.
If you're listening to this, you probably enjoy TCU quite a bit.
Yes. So make sure you check out the website because that's how we get paid.
It is how we get paid.
So a little bit about us. I'm Geoff Craig. I used to host a radio show over at KTCU, over on the campus of TCU, the Riff Ram Sports Show. So you may or may not be familiar with my shtick. I like to talk sports, and I'm a little bit of a goober. And Billy?
I'm a huge goober, and I like sports as well. No, I'm a TCU alum. We both are TCU alums.
Absolutely.
I didn't have a radio show here or anything like that, but I was at the time of graduation, I had the most written articles in the history of the Skiff at like 184 or something like that. I think it's since been passed, but honestly, I think in this new generation, this new medium, to where internet's print's going online now, I think it's kind of an asterisk situation. I think I'm winning the pre-internet world. It makes it sound ancient, by the way. I'm only 29. But it makes it sound real, I want to say the pre-internet. But now it's mostly online. So I think anyone's ever going to catch me in print anymore. I think I've got that record forever. But some people say they have more hits than me. Ryan Osborne, mostly looking at you.
Yeah, he's a liar.
He is a liar.
He's a liar. So Billy's the actual journalist of the group. I am a sports broadcasting and radio, film, TV guy.
We're like the odd couple.
But that's why this works.
It's going to work really well.
That's why it works. So that's a little bit about us. Hopefully you enjoy what we're going to talk about. Today's show, obviously, it's early. Spring practice was great. Fall practice about to start. Two-a-days start today. We just left from the TCU Media Day meet and greet with all the national media that gets to come down here one time a year and hang out with us who are here all the time. And Coach P did his little thing, and then we got to talk to Coach Meacham, Coach Glasgow, Demonte Cross, Cumbie, and then some of the players were there. So we got to pick some brains and see how they think the 2015 is going to follow up on last year's Peach Bowl victory. Going into the season, ranked number 2. I mean, for me, I'm a lifetime Fort Worth guy. This is just amazing, but I remember being at Amon Carter when I was in middle school, and there'd be like 1,200 people.
Yeah.
Now there's 1,200 in the entire stadium.
Yeah, no, I understand. I get how numbers work. No, and I know how many seats are there. For me, my first TCU game, I think, was my junior year of high school. It was against Air Force. I won tickets. At the Rangers game, they're like, hey, we're giving away tickets to the TCU game tomorrow if you can tell me who won between TCU and it was Tulane like the night before or the week before. Who won that game, you can have free tickets. Like, TCU won. It was at Tulane. I used to like New Orleans a lot. So, this is me, my 15-year-old voice saying this.
I was wondering what was happening.
Yeah, I was going reverse puberty there. Yeah, I hit puberty very late. 15 is pretty late for that game anyway. But, I think but since then, seeing where the team's at now, where the stadium's at now, all the attention, so many national media guys are there today, and it's fun to see. I know we can pick on them a lot because they don't know who we are, but it's fun. It's fun to see the program grow, and this year's gonna be even better than last year, I feel like.
Absolutely. So we're going to jump in right after this quick break. We're going to jump in first down. We're going to talk some off-season changes, things that have gone on that you may or may not know about here in TCU football. You're listening to the PurpleMenace.com podcast.
I'm Rachel Ray, and food is not only the way I make my living, it's how I spend time with my family and friends. It's hard to imagine true hunger, but sadly, 1 in 6 Americans don't know where their next meal will come from. They're your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger to find out how you can make a difference. I'm Rachel Ray, and together we are Feeding America.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to the PurpleMenace.com podcast. Geoff Craig, Billy Wessels here. It is first down. It is time to talk about the offseason changes, things that have occurred since the Peach Bowl victory, 12-1 last year. So first, Billy, let's talk about the offensive changes. Offensively, they don't lose a lot.
David Porter, I think that's it. There's one other guy.
Tayo,
yeah. David Porter, Tayo. Cliff Murphy.
Cliff Murphy was, I think, underrated.
I know you're a huge Cliff Murphy fan.
Underrated in
true.
what he did in this offense, opening holes, playing that H-back position. So offensive starters, not a lot lost. You lose your left tackle, Tayo Fabulajay, but you move over
Big V. Halapulu Vaitai. That's
fantastic.
Close. It's close.
That was really good.
Thank you.
For
I just talked to him. I just talked to him 3 minutes ago. I should know that a little better, but
he's moving from right tackle to left tackle. I don't think it's going to be a bad transition for him.
No, and he was really excited about actually moving Joseph Noteboom to right tackle, taking his old spot. And I got to talk to him a little bit about that. And you can find a little video interview I did with him on our website, purplemenace.com. I think you could kind of see the voice of pride in his voice. You could see the voice that he had in Noteboom, because Noteboom's a guy that he worked with an awful lot for the last 2 years, just watching him grow. And he's like, dude, he gets it now. He totally 100% gets it. He used to listen to me, but now he really hears what I'm saying and can do everything I'm asking him to do. I think if anything, the offensive line might be a little bit better this year. Could be great.
Yeah, because definitely, Noteboom's about 6'5", 310.
A million, yeah. He's
huge. he's a big. He's very athletic.
Yeah.
8% body fat, maybe for a offensive lineman. Big V's not soft either.
No.
I mean, these are some big, strong kids. I think they are going to be more athletic on the line, which is kind of scary, because now you're talking about not just pulling guards with Naff and Fultz, but pulling tackles on some of these little screens, bubble screens, and things of that nature. I mean, if I'm a linebacker at Texas Tech, let's just throw them under the bus. If I'm a linebacker
They're already
at Tech,
under there. You don't have to throw them very far.
I don't think that I want Noteboom with a full head of steam coming at me. That's scary.
It's real scary, and that's this offense is going to be phenomenal. And I think the big thing is GP mentioned it, that this is year 2, and he expected to be a 2-year to 3-year transition. And imagine what they did last year, and then the fact that's only the tip of the iceberg. Basically, I think they've got so much more in mind for what this offense could look like this year.
Absolutely, and David Porter, he's the only receiver they lose.
Yeah.
And the other offensive weapon they lose is B.J. Catalon, which he did a lot of things in the run game. He lined up in the slot in the pass game, and then a phenomenal kick returner. You're going to lose a lot with B.J. I think they're going to be okay being able to replace him, because Aaron Green came on late in the season last year. He was probably a better true runner than B.J. was. B.J. was a phenomenal, all-around scat back, making cuts. Aaron Green reads holes and makes the one cut. He's a one-cut back.
Yeah, and the big thing about him is there's still a lot of tread on those tires. I talked to them about that too, about how, when this year's over, barring other catastrophic injury like what happened to BJ, he should look really good for NFL camps, because he's been kind of around so much, been around the program for a while, been around Nebraska's program for a while, but hasn't gotten a whole lot of touches, a whole lot of carries. So he's got a lot of tread there. I mean, it sets up for a really explosive season for him, I feel like.
Yeah, and then you look at the wide receivers. You lose David Porter, but stepping right in, you've got a plethora of receivers.
There's like a million guys that can catch the ball. I'm really excited to see what Emmanuel Porter does this year. Speaking of Porter to Porter, Emmanuel looked pretty good at times last year. It took him a little bit longer to get going than I think Coach P expected and a lot of fans expected. But again, he's a true freshman, and he's a long true freshman. And get him a little bit more size on him. He's going to be even more impressive this year. I think he's going to be a monster this season.
And he was similar to Josh Doxson in the fact that he was really a basketball player who played football. Now he's a football player. And last year I think he was probably 190, 195 on a good day.
Dripping wet. Yeah, he was very small.
Coach P was saying today he's around 220.
Yeah.
So you're talking 6'5", 220. We're getting close to like Jimmy Graham territory for this guy. So Emmanuel Porter's going to be somebody to watch. Cameron Eccles-Looper, we know what he can do.
Yeah.
In the return game as a punt returner. I think he's probably going to get some more touches at wide receiver. he may play some defense as well.
Yeah, I know. I think the big thing for him was supposed to be transitioning to defense, but I know he's listed on the offensive depth chart still again. So he's just going to do everything. He's our Deion Sanders basically.
And I'm okay with that. I like Deontay Gray as well. I think
Deontay
he
Gray,
might still
Ty
play
Slanina. I still love Funky Colt Slanina.
Oh yeah,
he's still one of my favorite nicknames on the team, and I'm going to keep saying it until he retweets it or whatever. I'm just going to say it all the time. If you see #FCS, it's Funky Colt Slanina from now on. But yeah, I mean that's just this huge staple of wide receivers this team has, and it's scary, scary.
Yeah, and so we look at the offense. You're obviously returning. We've talked about players lost. Returning, you've still got your quarterback, you've got your running back, you have 4 out of the 5 offensive linemen, you've got 3 of the 4 starting receivers. The offense is not going to be a problem. We switch over to the defensive side.
I am gonna point out we did not say once Trevon Boykin's name in that entire offensive rundown. The quarterback, the Heisman frontrunner.
Do we need to?
I guess there's no reason to say it, but the fact that we went through an entire talk about 5 minutes about this offense and did not mention the Heisman frontrunner, the Heisman candidate for this team's name
But we were talking offensive starters lost.
I know, but no, we talked a lot about B.J. Catalon. Either way, I'm just saying, or we talked a lot about Aaron Green. But either way, it's just funny that's how good this offense is going to be this year. We can talk about everyone else but the star quarterback, and we're excited.
The one that's
about
on the cover of ESPN magazine,
yeah.
And SI Kids.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go.
Did
I
you know
don't
that?
get that subscription. No, I didn't know that.
I saw a tweet and I was like, "That's pretty cool." It's like four Heisman guys, Heisman front runners, like eating sandwiches. You know, like the steel workers that build buildings. They're like up on the thing with their lunch pails. It's Boykin. It's Ezekiel Elliott.
It's probably Boykin and all 3 Ohio State guys. That's probably all it is.
They could just put Boykin with the 3 Ohio State quarterbacks, but
basically.
Yeah. So yeah, you got 2 magazine covers. We didn't talk about him until now.
Yep.
We don't need to talk about him. He's
all right. Defense.
He's done enough.
Defense.
Defensive starters lost. There's a bunch of them. Let's start.
You could
with,
make like an all Big 12 team of defensive players that TCU lost, basically.
I mean, when you look at what they lost, you've got a Big 12, an all Big 12 corner in Kevin White.
Yep.
You've got 2 all Big 12 safeties in Chris Hackett and Sam Carter. You've got a good 3-year starter in Marcus Mallett, and then you've got the Defensive Player of the Year, Paul Dawson.
Yeah, don't forget Chucky Hunter. I'm a huge Chucky Hunter fan.
Chucky Hunter was a 4-year starter.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I love Big Chuck, too.
Yeah.
So a defensive tackle, both linebackers, 2 safeties, 2/3 of your
Jonathan
safeties.
Anderson, yeah.
Jonathan Anderson, another linebacker who played a lot, mixing in with nickels and dimes, special teams guy. So you lose a lot on the defense. Who are some guys that are going to have to step in, step up to replace all of that from the defense?
I'm looking at 2 guys especially, and it's going to be I think Mike Tuinei. I think he's going to have a monster season. He showed it at times that he could put this entire team on his back. He's so charismatic, so much energy, so much hair.
The motor.
He really is, and he's just a fun guy, a great, very excitable. I just love watching that guy play. He's going to go get the ball no matter what. And obviously, I think Ranthony Tejada is a guy that's going to need. He was great. I think he was really good last year. I think he had one of the most underrated seasons, especially if you look at his effective redshirt freshman last year. He's going to have a big challenge this year. He's going to have to be the guy at cornerback this year. And he's still pretty skinny. He's getting bigger, but he's still small.
He is a little dude. He's fast.
Yeah, he's real fast.
Now, I'm glad you brought up Ranthony, because one of my questions was, you lost BJ. Do you think we see more Anthony Tejada returning kicks? Because he's so explosive, but that ball comes out way too easy.
And he's your number 1 cornerback. he's your top corner.
Patterson's always preaching depth.
I know he is, but I hate risking your top cornerback on a return. And returns is huge. You can totally change a game. You saw Looper do that with Kansas last year at return. But I'd rather use your 4th wide receiver than your 1st cornerback,
or your Kyle Hicks,
or exactly your 3rd running back. I mean,
your Sean Nixon.
Yeah. I was about to say Sean Nixon. They've got plenty of guys that are going to return. I would not risk Ranthony returning the ball, but again, I'm not the coach. I'm not going to dog anything he does because it works. We saw Ranthony, which was that the Peach Bowl last year where he housed one, or was
no?
That,
he almost
housed one.
He took it like 80 in the Peach Bowl, but he had another one where he was like 70 yards and then he got the ball popped out.
Yeah,
and so that's why he didn't return for another.
Yeah, so I mean, he's fun to watch. He's explosive, crazy fast, but I wouldn't risk him returning the ball.
All right, so while we're still on the defensive side, the most important position, I think, is you're replacing all those linebackers. Yeah. So who are the guys that they're going to have to lean on heavily in this linebacking core now?
I think you're looking at Sammy Douglas, Mike Freeze, Paul the Hit Mill Whip Mill. They don't actually call him that, but that's another name I'm trying to trademark.
Ty Donna Summers.
Ty Donna Summers. That'll work for me, I guess. No, Ty, I actually saw Ty walking around today. We didn't get a chance to talk with him, but he looks so big. He just looks thick. And I talked with Damani Cross a little bit about him today, and the fact that he's just gotten so jacked, and the fact that he used to be a quarterback in high school. That's a guy that Coach P loves, guys that used to play quarterback that have transitioned to different positions. That means they're smart. That means they know what they're doing. That means they know offense, defense, they know everything.
They know where quarterbacks are looking in pass game.
Exactly. They've been there before. It's like reverse cam for them, I guess. But, yeah, I think Ty Summers is going to be good. Mike Freeze, he was listed as a starter on the depth chart, and he looks like just a toddler. He looks like he's still on the freshman high school team, on the freshman college team. But he was so good in the spring game. He was all over the place. So I think they've got something there. I've got some lightning in the bottle with him and Ty and Sammy Douglas. I think is going to be great. I think those are your top three guys with Paul Whitmore kind of floating around.
Now safeties, same thing. Chris Hackett, Sam Carter gone. You've got Peanut. Derek Kendrick back. I think he's going to have an absolute monster year this year.
I think he's got the only fault with him was that he got too aggressive at times. He's going to have to learn to not be as aggressive as dumb as that may sound. He's got to learn to not go for the pick six every time. He's got to learn to make a stop when he needs to make a stop. But
and maybe because he's stepping up in that role as leader, maybe he understands that.
And I think GP's sat him down and talked to them 80 times in the last 6 months about that, probably saying that, hey, you've got to change a little bit because we lost so much. You've got to be the guy that is a little more responsible, if that makes sense, on the football field. So
the two guys that it looks like, now, of course, practice starts today, and a lot can change in the fall because you bring in all those freshmen, which we'll hit on that soon. Denzel Johnson and Kenny Iloka look like the two guys at the front runners for weak and strong safety. Kenny Iloka was a junior college transfer. He showed some flashes last year on special teams, especially in that Peach Bowl when he took that guy's – I thought the guy's head came off. It was just the helmet, but it looked like it could have been the head. And Denzel Johnson's played a lot in his 3 years at TCU. He's played special teams. He's been a nickel-dime guy. He's played a lot in the teams that really run the spread, where they spread it out with not even running back. West Virginia the last 2 years, he's started those games. So Denzel Johnson's a guy I really like, another former quarterback.
Yeah.
So that's nice. But he's also about 210 in track star speed.
And 205 pounds of that is muscle. He is absolutely jacked. I think he's got the best frame on the team as far as being just a physical specimen. He is just an absolute monster. I love watching that guy play.
And so we've got Ridwan Issahaku.
Issahaku, yep.
He's pushing. He could be a guy. He redshirted last year. He could be a guy that pushes for some time. Traven Howard, another guy.
They like Traven a lot. They like Traven an awful lot.
And he was a
year.
Special teams monster too. So it gives me hope. I mean, yeah, you're talking 6 defensive starters gone, but you've got the depth and you've got guys that have played. They maybe didn't start a lot of games, but Sammy was out there, especially at the end of last year, basically giving him a trial run. Yeah. Let's see what he can do when we're up, but we want to make sure he's in the right spot. Now, defensive line, we lose Chucky.
Yeah.
We've got Davion Pearson back. You've already talked about Mike Tua'ua. They've got James McFarland, the Peach Bowl defensive MVP, back. They've got Josh Caraway back.
Yeah.
New guys. Oh, they got Chris Bradley back. They've got Terrell Lathan back. I'm naming guys that are back, but the new guy on the scene, Aaron Curry, another Nebraska transfer.
Yeah. Man, I almost forgot about him. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do this year, what kind of role they're going to give him. But it's just like the defensive line they've had the last several years. It's going to be just a revolving door. All right, you four go play 3 plays. All right, you four go play 3 plays. You four go play 3 plays. And that's how long drives are with this defense, how long they were last year especially. I think this is going to be just a really fun defense to watch. It's gonna be a struggle at times, but I'm glad they play some of their tougher games a little later in the schedule. Give these guys a chance to grow against your Minnesotas who are going to ground and pound. Stephen F. Austin, who I'm sure is going to have a great year in the Sun Belt. I don't know what they are anymore. Southland. Isn't that a cable TV show? Anyway, I think you get those chances early on to see that team improve an awful lot. And I honestly, I think GP wasn't going to say it, but he's going to love coaching this defense. I think it's going to be really fast, really athletic. But he's going to love this. If this defense becomes one of the best in the country, he is the coach of the year, and it probably cements a spot in the Hall of Fame, the College Football Hall of Fame. If he can take this defense of after seeing what they had last year and then getting rid of all of those pieces, basically, and here's a whole new game you're playing with a bunch of new pieces and turning that into one of the best teams in the country, that he could cement himself as one of the best coaches in college. I mean, he's already considered one of the best, as the best coach in college football.
That's going to be tough because everybody loves them some Urban Meyer. They love some Nick Saban, even though both of those guys are complete jerks.
And we all love GP. I think I think it's just going to prove, if you look at the grand scheme of things, what he did with that team last year, how he builds defenses. If he can take this, I don't want to say ragtag crew of guys, that sounds like another 80s sitcom, but if he can just take these guys that have little to no experience and turn them into one of the top 5 defenses in college football, that says a lot more about what he's doing than what Urban Meyer's doing with his bunch of track stars and Nick Saban's doing with his 5 stars all over the place. These are all 2 and 3 star guys still. And
now you get a blip of a 4 every once in a while.
A blip of a 4 every once in a while, and then a lot of those guys don't always pan out. It's just about what they do. I know the ratings. A lot of people love the ratings, and as a Rivals associate, we should care so much about the ratings. But the truth is, TCU guys get hosed on those ratings all the time. And if you go to UT, if you put on orange and white, you're going to get a 5-star. If you put on purple and black, you're going to get a 2 or 3 star. It is how the way the world is right now, and that shouldn't matter. And it doesn't matter to GP. He gets guys that fit his system, that play his style, that are hungry, that want to go beat those guys that got 4 and 5 stars, or they got snubbed. And he loves that role. And this team is going to be fun to watch again this year. I don't know where I'm going with this rant. I don't know why I got all worked up.
It's
all
okay.
I'm
letting you do it, man. I love it.
Yeah.
So our last topic here in First Down, coaching changes.
Yeah.
The one big one, TCU didn't lose. I mean, there was some Cumbie floated around that he might be on his way to taking another job, but he ultimately made the right decision, stayed here. He knows what he's got here.
Yeah.
He can really be himself. They lose Dick Bumpus, who retired. For these guys, at this point, I feel like, though, he was almost more of a figurehead. I mean, he was there. He was a great guy. He was a great motivator. This guy was still in the rec every day at like 8 a.m. running 7 miles. I mean, he was that guy. But Chad Glasgow and DeMonte Cross are going to do fine as co-defensive coordinators. But I think for Patterson, Bumpus was a guy that he could kind of go vent to, could lean on when he was going to have that I've got to tie my shoes 5 times in the last 3 minutes moment.
And you're sitting there, that whole speech, by the way, I was sitting here nodding as if you could hear that over the podcast. But yeah, I totally agree with you 100% everything you just said. Cross and Glasgow, it's going to be great energy. You got to talk with both those guys today. Those guys are really excited about their role, and it scared me a little bit that Cross is already talking about, my goal is not necessarily to prepare for the future, but to do his best job possible for the next job, if that makes sense. Already talking about what he could go on to for bigger and better things after this. But I'm like, hold up, you start day 1 tomorrow, basically. Calm down a little bit. But that's not what he meant. That's how motivated he is to have a great year this year. I could see that quote being taken out of context, but he just wants to be the best possibly can be this year, and then see what that does for his future and for this team's future and for GP's future. So just do what he do, because I think Cross is going to be great. I think Glasgow, those guys are just full of energy. If you watch those guys pregame, watch them. When you watch the team warm, if you get there, we get there like 2 or 3 hours early for every game. If you see them during warm-ups, they're always running around like crazy people. Especially Glasgow, he is like a chicken with its head cut off most of the time before games.
I found out it's the reason he has to do that is because he goes up to the booth, so he's the eyes on the sky, and DeMonte is the guy on the field. So Glasgow's got to get out there and get really amped up and crazy because he's sitting the rest of the game, and it just drives him nuts.
I bet it does. But
he's a former safety too, so he's used to flying around, so he gets it all out pregame.
Yeah.
And then he's up in the booth just like
bottle it up.
shaking.
Yeah. But I think it's gonna be just fine. I think it's those are guys that are familiar with the program, familiar with the system. I think you're not losing much at all as far as what the defense is going to be because of the coaching changes. I think the players and backs going to be bigger than the coaching changes. I think they're going to be just fine this year.
All right, so that's going to wrap up First Down. We'll be right back after this break with Second Down. We're going to talk about some of these new guys coming in. We've got some flashy new recruits and then some redshirt freshmen, some guys that sat last year that could make an impact this year. You're listening to the Purple Menace Podcast.
In 50 feet, turn left. Why are you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you.
What?
Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. PurpleMenace.com podcast. Geoff Craig, Billy Wessels here. All right, it's time for second down. We're going to throw a couple of the new recruits that are coming in and some redshirt freshmen that we feel are going to have an impact on the 2015 Horned Frogs. So, Billy, I'm going to let you go first. You throw one of the guys out here that you think is going to have an impact on this 2015 TCU Horned Frog football team.
All right, so we're going to go here, and we already talked about Mike Freeze, how he's probably going to be a starter, so we're kind of glossing over him. So no disrespect for him. We're expecting him to do big things. But there are a couple different guys that maybe will get some more run this year than maybe people are expecting. I think the first one, I love this kid a lot, Jalen Austin, just an absolute monster wide receiver at South Grand Prairie. Got to look at him today. That sounds really weird to say. I walked by him when walking into the press conference. Kid looks good. Looks even thicker. He's listed at 6 foot 192. Looks like he's gotten a little bit bigger on top of that. He's a kind of guy that when I watched him play some games last year for SGP, he could do everything. He blocked well. He was very physical, very great hands, very fast. Not afraid to do the little things. He said his coach would not let him play if he didn't know how to block, starting from freshman year. So they drilled blocking his head, and he blocked on every single play he possibly could. So that's the kind of guy that I think GP loves. He got the great attitude, the right attitude. Committed really early on in the process too. One of the first 3 or 4 guys to commit to this class after the 4-8 season too, which is a big thing.
You thinking slot for him?
I'm thinking, yeah. I mean, he could be outside 6 foot even, but I think I think he could fit well in the slot at least to start. Well, you've got Dotson and Porter outside, but I think he's a guy that could play outside if you need it. But I mean, he'll play wherever you ask him to play. But I think he'll be. Obviously, he played outside in high school. It's a totally different ballgame at that level. But I think that's one of the guys. GP said you'll probably see 2 freshman receivers getting run this year. I could see Austin being one of those guys for sure.
Okay, one of the guys that I'm going to talk about, redshirt freshman Sean Nixon, running back. He was a huge get for this team last year. Late flip from A&M to TCU. Shocked everybody when that happened. He probably would have played last year if he hadn't gotten hurt right at the end of spring ball, and they said, you know what, let's shelve him, let's give him a year. We want him back 100%. He's a guy I think could be Catalon's replacement in the return game. He'll probably get some snaps at running back, but now they're so deep at tailback. I mean, Aaron Green, Trevorris Johnson, Kyle Hicks, Sean Nixon, that's pretty deep. I think he's going to be a return guy. Looper's got that punt return job locked up, but I wouldn't be surprised if they put him back there late in the game if it's something just in case, because Looper got banged up a couple times last year. So Sean Nixon, lightning quick, pretty strong kid. I like the way he runs, but you got to get playmakers on the field, and his best chance is probably as a return man.
Yeah, and I think he's definitely going to be a really explosive guy. That's a perfect spot for him. And again, I mentioned earlier about not wanting to risk one of your quote-unquote star players in that role. I think he'd be a really good guy, especially being the freshman, the redshirt freshman. Or I guess he's still considered a true freshman if he had a medical redshirt last year?
It's still a redshirt.
So you burn that redshirt first, and then you have your other medical redshirt. But I think that's a great choice for a pick there, Geoff, for a guy that'll be an impact guy. I do think he'll get plenty of run, plenty of work this year, especially if they're going to win by every game by 50 points like they're projected to. You'll be out of Green and Trevorris Johnson. It's like, I'll just throw Hicks and Nixon out there and to see what they can do.
All right, so give me one more, Billy. We've done a receiver, we've done a running back. Do you have anybody on the defensive side?
I'm gonna go DN Braylon Mitchell here. I know a lot of people are expecting to hear about 4-star Deshaun Raymond from New Orleans. You know me, I love New Orleans, but I'm gonna go Braylon Mitchell here. Talking with some of the guys, some of the defensive ends and defensive linemen that were at the media day today. Braylon Mitchell's a guy they talked an awful lot about, I got to see him play a couple times in high school too for Round Rock. Saw him play some playoff games where he would play. He literally played DN, tight end, wide receiver, linebacker, all in the same game. He caught a 2-point conversion pass. So he's kind of like, he's not quite J.J. Watt, but he's a kind of versatile athlete that you could see doing a lot of different things. He's going to play DN here primarily, but a lot of the defensive linemen that are on campus already that have been for a couple years on the team, he's a guy they look at as being a guy that could be pretty special someday. So I like Braylon Mitchell an awful lot.
All right, so that's going to do it for second down. We've given you some of the new guys, some fresh faces to look for on this Horned Frogs football team. We're going to take a quick break. You should too. Go take yourself a potty break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Purple Menace Podcast.
Hi, I'm Ryan Seacrest for RAD. Over 300 people in this country are killed every week by a drunk driver. That's the equivalent of 2 747 plane crashes every single week. And the problem isn't going away unless we all do our part to stop it. So if you see someone who's about to drive after drinking, get the keys. Don't leave it up to anyone else. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
And we're back. Geoff Craig, Billy Wessels, PurpleMenace.com podcast. Make sure you go over to PurpleMenace.com. Take a look around. Read some of the articles. You'll fall in love. Then become a subscriber.
Yeah, we mentioned some of those a couple minutes ago. We mentioned a lot of the freshmen that think will play. These are guys that we got to see play at the high school level and got to analyze a little bit going on. So it's kind of stuff you can see for the future Frog commits, that guys that are in this part of this 2016 class coming up, that guys you can think about looking at, like Courtney Larkus, a huge wide receiver out of Houston, one of the guys that we're kind of featuring right now. So go check over the website, do that. We got a lot of videos. As I say now, they're not on the website yet because we're sitting here live right after the thing, but right after the media press conference. By the time this is put up, they'll probably be on there. Lots of videos. Should have a couple stories from this event as well, along with camp coverage coming up here in the next couple days. So feel free to check it out.
And it's a great place to make new friends.
Yeah,
that think like you do.
Yep, that think that TCU's the best, and there's right.
Some fun forums on there.
Mm-hmm.
Get some topics going. So make sure you check it out. PurpleMenace.com. It is a Yahoo Rivals website.
Yep.
What about Rivals?
It's the best place to cover college sports for 100 decades.
100 decades.
100 decades.
All right, it's time for Third Down. Now, we wanted to break down. Obviously, we're still getting into the preseason, so we don't have any games to break down. We don't have any players to look out for.
Predictions
we
to make it be
crazy
accurate.
Predictions about Boykin throwing a pass to himself
It
that
happened.
actually happened in a game.
It happened.
Not on purpose. So we're going to give you all the TCU guys, because I can remember a couple years ago when there was no TCU players on any preseason watch list.
They were on the watch list for wanted posters. That's what I meant. Like they've gone missing on the back of milk cartons. That's what I meant to say. The wrong watch list.
Those are two completely
totally
different things, Billy.
Totally different things, and I totally messed up the punchline of my own joke.
That was
so.
And see, this is what happens when you just do things live and just roll with it. Because
oh my gosh,
there will be no editing of that one, Billy. I hope one of these guys punches you in the face. And then he'll end up on the back of that milk carton.
Yep, for missing all my teeth and eyes and everything.
So the players that are on some of these preseason watch lists, how about Josh Doxson on the Bolitnikoff? Wide receiver, 6'4", 190 pounds, 66 catches last year, 1,118 yards, 11 touchdowns.
You're doing all that from memory, by the way. That's impressive.
Yeah, I am.
You're just looking right at my eyes.
I'm looking right at you,
right
saying stats,
my
and
eyes
you're just
are crying from laughing at the stupid thing I just said. But, I think, obviously he's going to be a front runner. He's going to be one of the top receivers in the country again, especially if this offense does what it did last year and can even improve on that.
And he was banged up a little bit.
He was banged up. He had fought through a couple injuries. But, yeah, he's the kind of guy that one of my favorite plays all last year was the one-handed grab against, I think it was Minnesota, where he just soared over everybody in that entire state to make that one-handed grab and just twinkle toes down the end zone like it's no big deal.
Now, Davion Pearson.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite guys on this team.
Yep.
I mean, off the field, the guy is a complete character. I love
He's a goofball.
Davion Pearson.
He's a goofball.
Matter of fact, when the players came in for the press conference today, he sat down and nobody was around because everybody's interviewing coaches still. And he looks over at Cohen and he's like, "Hey, what time you think we'll be out of here?" And Mark goes, "Oh, I'll make sure I get you out of here by 4:30." And he freaked. He was like, "Wait a minute, 4:30? I'm out of here." He was like, "You told me 15 minutes."
Yeah, that's funny.
If you haven't seen Davion Pearson do an interview, you're
missing out.
There's something wrong with you. And the way you can fix that, go to PurpleMenace.com because we've got videos on there. Davion Pearson's on a couple of different watch lists for best interior lineman and also best defensive lineman. So look out for Davion. And, you mentioned Chucky Hunter earlier. You love Chucky. Chucky was kind of the glue there, and then Davion was like the Velcro. Chucky would hit and stick, and Davion would stick and peel off and tear things up. Like it's supposed to, and then he wreaked havoc.
I'm trying to think of a craft that needs both glue and Velcro. I can't come up with one right now. Maybe my shoes from like 1997 that I wore till they needed to be glued back together that had Velcro on them. But yeah, no, I totally get your reference. Pearson's fun to watch.
Very obscure reference.
Pearson's definitely fun to watch and going to be I think all these guys we're going to talk about should take on some hardware, but he'll be poised for a great season.
Joey Hunt.
Yeah.
Came to TCU as a defensive tackle.
And now literally the opposite. Center.
And now he may be the best center in all of college football.
And he's pretty unassuming if you look at him. Like
doesn't look like an offensive lineman.
No. He just kind of like, all right, I'm gonna sit there, I'm gonna snap the ball. But he's one of the best in the country. Very stable.
He's been doing it for 4 years now. It doesn't feel like it.
No,
but,
it doesn't.
I mean, he
Time
took
flies.
over his freshman year. He took over at the end, and now we're going into his senior year. We're talking about how good he is. And by the way, he may challenge Mike Tui'u for best hair on the team.
Oh, you're right. You can't see Hunt's in the helmet. You can see Tui'u's, but get that helmet off. It's like, you know how when Bryce Harper's a home run, like every pitch they do like to release the hair and someone takes his helmet off and he flips it back. I can see them doing that after every touch-in this year. By the way, if you're not, that should be your new celebration this year. Taking Joey Hunt's once you're on the sideline, once the possession's over, take his helmet off and let him flip his hair back and forth.
I'm working for TCU for the in-house production, so I'll make sure that our camera guys know to look.
That would be
Joey Hunt, and
amazing.
I will put that on the big boards
That
here.
would be so good.
Joey Hunt,
release the hair.
Best center in college football, and Jake Kirkpatrick. Man, struggling today. It's a struggle bus. It's because you're over here chuckling the whole time.
Segment.
TCU's had guys win this award before. Okay, the guy that everybody wants to talk about, and Billy, you were yelling at me earlier because we didn't talk enough about him. He's on. I'm not even going to name all the ones that he's on because it's too long a list, and we've got to wrap this podcast up at some point.
Eventually.
Trevon Boykin, number 2, the quarterback, a guy that last year was so polarizing that there's a Twitter account called Trayvon's Wrist because everybody thought he had wrist surgery and was going to miss the rest of the year.
Oh, my gosh. By the way, who was the first to report that null and void, that made-up thing was all totally false? This
Billy
guy from
Wessels.
PurpleMenace.com. So it was just it was a wild ride last year for TB, and we talked a lot about with Meacham and Cummey today that last year was the Jokel versus Boykin show. Now there's no Jokel. Now it's just the Boykin show and how he's handling it and how if he's still pushing himself compared to having someone to push him, and all the reports is that he's still extremely motivated, ready to go to do work this year, and probably I mean it's gonna be him or one of the Ohio State guys probably be your Heisman guy.
And if you're Trevon, like these guys know after like their junior years, especially when they have a year like he had last year, you kind of know where your draft prospects are.
Yeah.
And for him, obviously they weren't where he wanted them to be, or he wouldn't be here anymore. So he's got things there's the motivation.
I still don't know. It's one of those things where you see the college game. I don't know if he's an NFL quarterback or not. I don't know if he's there yet, but that's a big thing for him this year to prove if he wants to play quarterback in the NFL. He's got to basically repeat last year's success and do even better.
Yep. So Boykin, we talked about you. You can thank Mr. Billy P. Wessels.
I had to clamor to get you on the show.
Is it Billy P. Wessels?
It's William Paul. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you didn't know middle initial P?
I did not.
Well, there you go. Now you know.
My father-in-law is Billy Paul.
Well,
actually Billy, not William. Billy P.
Wow.
Willie P. Yeah. That's how we roll on the PurpleMenace.com podcast. All right, we're going to come back with Fourth Down. We'll be right back.
Make sure your child is up with the alarm and ready for school each morning, because missing just 18 days, even in middle school, will put their graduation at risk. It's up to you. Learn more at boostup.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the PurpleMenace.com podcast. Geoff Craig, Billy Wessels, back here. Now, before we get into Fourth Down, you had some interesting things you wanted to throw out there, some new offers that TCU has given out to some of these top recruits.
Yeah, obviously this is mostly going to be a recruiting site, but we're going to talk a lot about most of the football team here on the site, and hopefully that pushed you to learn a little about the future guys on the website. But here's a couple guys that got some offers last week. The biggest one is Rivals 250 safety Cameron Lewis. He's currently a LSU commit, but he's visited TCU a couple times already this spring, and looks like TCU is definitely going to be in play. And they've been recruiting those Louisiana boys a lot harder lately. He also got an A&M offer last week on the same day, got the TCU offer, big day for him. Antonius Clayton is another, he's a Georgia boy, 4-star defensive end, got a TCU offer. It's totally pointless if I have a cough button if I'm going to cough in the middle of my own speech, deal with some kind of sickness or whatever here. But Antonius Clayton, 4-star defensive end out of Georgia, still going for SEC country. It looks like trying to delve into those waters. And I think the big one for us, and the guy that I think TCU might have the best chance out of these three guys is JUCO offensive lineman Natty Rogers, N-A-T-Y, Natty, 6'5", 290, offensive guard. He was a South Carolina commit out of high school, 4-star guy, but now he's a JUCO, and TCU's definitely in play there. Probably their biggest offer that he has.
They're doing big things. We're doing big things. PurpleMenace.com podcast. Now, today we talked about your offseason changes, offensive players lost, defensive players lost, some coaching changes. We talked about some of the new recruits, some impact freshmen we expect to have a big impact on this year's team. We talked about all the players that are on the watch list, from Trevon Boykin to Josh Doxson to Big V's on one of the watch lists, Joey Hunt. There's lots of guys. One of the best ways that you can find out more is go to purplemenace.com. Read things. There's a lot of fun stuff on there. Billy posts lots of videos. He likes to walk around with a camcorder and video people whether they want him to or not.
Yep.
Those are on there. Yeah, not creepy at all. Good buddy of ours, Matt Jennings, does fantastic work. I mean, it's not just recruiting. It's a recruiting website, but it's not just recruiting. Every week I'm going to have on there Craig's Countdown. It's kind of the top 10 keys to victory for both teams, for TCU and their opponent. Get on there. Check out the site. Find us on Twitter. I'm at Geoffrey, Geoffrey _Craig, Craig. Why do I have the underscore? Because there's a Jeffrey Craig in London who's a doctor who has more Twitter followers than me, and he took Jeffrey Craig with no underscore.
I mean, it sounds like he deserves it more.
He's a doctor in London, so probably.
He's saving lives.
There's
and
also
has
like
more
a
followers
scientist that's Jeffrey Craig. All these guys are Jeffreys with Geoff.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's a very British name you have.
Yeah.
And it's not so much the fact that the doctor saves lives, the fact that he has more followers than you, therefore he deserves whatever name
That's
he
what
wants.
pisses me off. Like, what's he tweeting about?
I mean, life-saving
Football?
tips and tricks, possibly?
Probably not.
The wrong football?
So that's me. Billy, what's your Twitter?
At Billy Wessels, BILLYWESSELS. No underscore needed because I'm the best Billy Wessels that ever was. And then you've also got...
but when you type that into your iPhone, it will automatically correct it to Billy Weasels.
Oh, for sure. Really original. I've only been getting that since I was 6 years old.
No, because that's what it did the first time I put
Why are you Googling me, bro?
When you were on Riff Ram last year on my show,
right.
I tweeted out that Billy Wessels was coming on the show. It auto-corrected to Weasels before I noticed.
Weasels definitely have more followers than I do, though, so they deserve that. They deserve those bids, those tweets and hashtags and whatever.
That's like the at Pelicans website is not actually the. It's not the Pelicans. It's just some lady.
Oh, she likes birds.
She's got at Pelicans, so
that's great. Her first name is Pella, last name Can, so she deserves it. So I think also the Purple Menace Twitter account is TCU_Rivals. Join us for all this fun stuff. If you enjoyed listening to this, let us know. If you enjoyed all my dumb jokes, I appreciate that too.
Yeah, leave comments on Billy's Twitter, not mine. No, check out mine too, but you can also leave the comments on the YouTube page or find us on Facebook. I mean,
or find us on the streets here in Fort Worth.
That's
we're
true.
around.
We're around.
I think we're both technically Benbrook residents, but whatever.
Yep.
We're around.
Don't give them too much information. We're going to find that guy that hates what we do. Or that football player that you said.
There you go. I saw that. I set that up. I was like, oh,
just roaming around Benbrook looking for Billy Wessels to punch in the face. And he's going to be like, come here, Billy Weasels. Yeah, good night. All right, everybody, we hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week with more PurpleMenace.com podcast.